Alrighty. So, in addition to writing with authenticity, we already mentioned that the details that you provide is going to show how genuine of a person you are and how much you care about kind of this journey towards being a doctor. I think one thing that's unique about where we are in time today is the rise of ChatGPT. And so I think this is a good time to kind of talk about it a little bit. I know that it's pretty now, I think, widely used in academic settings. The issue that you should know with ChatGPT is that I think ChatGPT is a good tool to brainstorm and kind of get you over the hump of a writer's block if you've got one, just by seeing words on a screen and have a machine essentially generate some talking points that you could potentially use. But just be aware that ChatGPT does hallucinate, and it makes things up. So just because off at a glance, the paragraphs look like they're filled with legitimate words that are strung together to give you meaning. When you take a step back, sometimes you'll realize that these words strung in a sentence are really not saying anything at all. And sometimes they are making things up. So, making things up as in like different experiences. And so you never want to be in a situation where you're caught with an experience that you never had because you use ChatGPT. And so one thing ChatGPT also does is that it uses words that sometimes are not really used anymore or isn't really used in a way that you would converse with another person. And so it's a little bit hard to describe, but I often can see if I'm reading a document that was written with ChatGPT. I guess after reading thousands of these, you start to kind of pick up on some of the little nuances. And sometimes one of the telltale sign is if there's a change in tone based off of a portion of the application where ChatGPT was used and a portion of the application where the authors use their own language. And so there's a change in tone and change in how different vocabulary you use. So just try to be cognizant of the pitfalls of ChatGPT. It can definitely be leveraged to your advantage, but it could also be a cause for an automatic reject. And you definitely don't want to be in that latter scenario. So outside of ChatGPT, building a narrative arc, this is also important for you to be intimately involved in creating your story. Only you will kind of know the course of how you want your entire application to telegraph to the readers. And so a personal statement isn't just going to be a resume. It's going to be a story. One of the common mistakes that I've seen applicants do is list all of their extracurriculars and accomplishments in the personal statement. Well, that doesn't necessarily tell me how or who you are as a person. And plus, we have another portion of the application where you can do that and focus on kind of your deliverables from your extracurricular activities. And so try to focus the personal statement into something that you wouldn't necessarily see in a resume, but give them enough to be interested for them to invite you for an interview. And so that's kind of how you can kind of play the game between or in this medical school application process.